Okay, I have a special video for y'all today, and it is the Strawhats and their Zodiac signs, based off of fandom and what they given us for their birthdays, right? When their birthday is. So I'm gonna go through and tell you, what their sign is, and just give you a little bit of description on why that might be. So Jinbei of the Straw Hat Pirates, he's an Aries because he was born April 2nd. April 2nd is the Aries date. Now he studied in, fishman jiu-jitsu, fishman karate. This is very competitive sports, right? This is combative sports, um, martial arts. This is something that Aries would do. So I do believe in that. That makes sense. Um, Next person is Brook, Soul King Brook. Birthday, April 3rd. And he's an Aries too, right? Just like Jinbei. He is creative. He makes music. He's loud too when he sings. Like every time you hear Brooke, isn't he loud? That's very fucking Aries. Like, and I know Aries too. They loud and shit. They loud. Like if they're around you and you're friends with them, you know they're loud. Don't fucking lie. If it ain't like their words, it's their actions that are loud, right? Because like Gene Bay's are Aries too, but it's more his actions that are loud. But he can scream too sometimes. You know, Brooke definitely does though. He's definitely loud, right? And passionate about his music. Aries energy, I see it. Franky is a Pisces. Franky's a Pisces because he's creative. See, he created the Thousand Sunny, right? The first ship they had, because he seen the first ship, right? It was the Going Merry. Um, and the Going Merry is a ram, right? So the ram is Aries. And if you know anything about astrology, Aries is the exaltation point of the sun in astrology, right? That's why, Aries can also be very egotistical sometimes, right? The Thousand Sunny is the Thousand Sunny because it's the sun, right? It's the symbology and all that, right? You got to know this shit, right? Frankie knew this shit, right? That's why he made it the Thousand Sunny because he knows what I know. And like my whole point is, Pisces is a deep sign, and they like to like look into things like that. Think in those terms. Okay, a ram. They like to initiate action. They like to, take decisive action. They like to, meet shit head on, right? The sun does that too, but it's like, it's bright. It, illuminates, a way forward, right? The dawn and all this other shit, right? He thinks about that when like making the helm, but then it's like not just that, it's like the ship's made from, Adam tree wood, the strongest, wood in the world. He put thought, energy, and time into it. He thought about the crew members too. That's showing like a little bit of compassion for the Strawhat Pirates, if you ask me, because like he's thinking about the people he's about to like join, and like what they're um, trying to accomplish on their journey. He didn't just make them some rinky-dink ship, or like he put time and effort into that shit. That's why the Thousand Sun is one of the best ships in One Piece, man. And Pisces are very creative, so I get that. Now, Robin is an Aquarius because she was born February 6th. She's smart girl, right? So she grew up on Ohara, right? She was raised by her, um, extended family members who didn't give a fuck about her. She then took to, books and shit, right? She started reading books. She was like, I want to read books. And they're like, you can't just steal from the, library and shit, but you can become a scholar like us. And she was like, okay, and she started to love that shit. And then she just took to that shit, right? Very Aquarius, right? And because, like, it ain't like she's just reading any books, though, boy. It's like she's reading books about ancient history and other things. It's very, like, interesting stuff, shit that, like, other people would know about. Because like it's thinking outside the box. Like other people read like their textbooks in school, and that's not what's actually going on because the shit she's reading is like the actual accounts of what happened like 800, 900 years ago, and all this other shit. And they're still trying to like gather information and shit too. She actually learned how to read hieroglyphics, or well, not hieroglyphics, but poneglyphs, if it's One Piece, right? That's not what other people do. She's thinking outside the box a little bit. She's doing that kind of shit that Aquarius does, right? And now she's labeled a devil, right? Going against authority, going against the norm, which is the world government. That's Aquarius energy like a motherfucker. And it definitely is. She's smart. She had to work her way into other, organizations. She had to hop from organization to organization. She knew in the back of her mind that the world government was always going to be after her because she was the last one, and she knew how to read those poneglyphs. And when you're smart like that, they want you dead, right? So, it made sense to me. Now the next sign is Chopper. Chopper was born on Christmas Eve, December 24th. So he's a Capricorn. See, this guy's very, grounded. He's an animal. Automatically he's grounded because he's an animal. I know people are like, but groundedness means you're, doing natural shit, like natural stuff, right? Survival instincts kick in and shit. And he definitely had to survive, right? Because guess what? This boy was kicked out of his little group of his herd of reindeer, right? Boom, they kicked him out. He had to survive, and he did. He adapted. Since he had a devil fruit, he adapted, and he was able to, find clover. Then he learned how to become a doctor. He then wanted to take action, and he adopted Clover's, dream, and he's like, I'm gonna actually make this shit happen. Again, Capricorn initiates practical action, like real action. He knows how to treat wounds. He sees somebody and he knows what's wrong with them, right away. If he can save them or if he can't save them, what he needs to treat somebody, what he needs right away, what he doesn't need right away, all that shit he can tell immediately, right? Very Capricorn like. They know what actions need to be fucking taken, right? And then they take them, right? And he can fight when he needs to, right? And he's going to do anything he can to help Luffy. And he's also going to help the people who, come across and, need to be treated by a doctor. He's going to, take care of them, right? The next one. Sanji. Sanji's a Pisces because he was born March 2nd. We know Sanji, right? Sanji likes women. They're very romantic, right? They're pussy boys, right? They really like that pussy, right? And they do. Don't get it fucked up. They do. He really, obsesses over that shit. But then it's also not just that, y'all. I'm not ragging on Sanji, but it's a thing though, and it is a thing with those boys too. Like Pisces men, they like that shit. But anyways, and then girls, they like what they like, right? But Sanji also is very compassionate, right? He would feed his enemy before he kicks their ass. That is a very Pisces thing. Because Pisces, they care, they put themselves in other people's shoes, and they're like, you know what? All right, I'll feed you, but then I'll whoop your fucking ass, Because I was just playing with Don Krieg and, Gin, right? And he told Gin to never fucking come back because after I did something like that for you, you were, gonna do that kind of shit, right? You're gonna try to fucking kill me after I saved your life. I know who's, a better character out of those two, right? Sanji still feeds Zoro even though he don't like Zoro. That's having compassion for your, fellow human being. You might not see eye to eye on shit, but guess what? I'm not gonna let you starve, man. I won't. And that's how Sanji is. Now Ussop, he's an Aries. He was born April Fool's Day. We know that Ussop lies and shit. And Usopp's also loud. He's loud about what he doesn't want us to do. We shouldn't go this way. But he also wants to be a brave warrior of the sea. So this guy does eventually take action, and he does. He knows it's inevitable. At this point, he's like, I can whine and cry and other things, but I have to, get this done, and fight to the best of my ability, and he does. And see, this is what his real Aries moment was for me. It was when he went against Luffy. You know, that took guts. You know, he was ballsy that day, and he was like, you know, you want to get rid of the ship, Luffy? That's ridiculous. You know, I'll fight you outside right now. Let's come get the smoke. And he was like, all right. You know, and he pulled out everything. He was like, and Luffy, I understand that you like the captain and everything, and you probably will be king of the pirates, but goddamn, man, this shit's wrong. And he was like, you know, I'm gonna take the ship from you, and I'll leave the crew too. You know, and he was, you know, out of sorts, man. He was like letting his rage control him in that moment. But Usopp definitely an Aries, even though you like, but he's cowardice, he's this and that. But like, yo, he's still there. He's not like running away. He's not gone. Like he's still fucking there. You know, he's still, you know, doing what he can, right? He's still in the thick of it with everybody else. So, you know, and he is the weakest member of the crew, but he's still, you know, fighting, man. Nami is a Cancer. She was born July 3rd. See, she knows how to read people. Cancers also know how to read people too. They initiate emotions in other people. Cardinal water. They initiate emotions in other people. She knows how to do that. She had to learn how to do that. See, when Arlon came to her village, took her, she had to play her cards right. She was like, I'll draw these charts. You know, she didn't want to die, right? And she was like, you know, I'll get this money no matter what. You know, she had to swindle, lie, and cheat a whole bunch of people out of money. You know, good people and bad people. You know, but she had to like play to their emotions and other things. You know, lie to them and other shit. You know, and like really, you know, play with to like, you know, their feelings and their emotions to like get that money and shit. That's what people don't realize. She had to do that, right? And she had a good intuition too, right? Boom, boom, boom. She was doing that, but it's like deeper though, because like she's doing this because she does like money, but she's doing it because she wants to save her people. She deeply cares about her people. So when you know Arlong, you know, sees the money or had the Marine seize the money, and she had to then restart. They were like, "No, Nami, you've been doing this shit for us for years. You know, we'll stand and fight for our shit too. We ain't gonna put this on your shoulders, girl." Um, they went to go fight, and she was like, "No, they're gonna die." She started busting out in tears because she knew that Arlen was gonna kill them. She was still crying when Luffy pulled up. She even stabbed her arm and shit. You know, she was in an emotional, like, you know, state. You know, not really thinking straight. You know, but once Luffy, you know, came there, and she like, you know, came to her senses. She was like, "Yes, help me out." And you know, she still has, you know, care for, you know, her crewmates. You know, um, maybe not as, you know, deep as other people, but you know, it's all right. Like the next person is pretty damn deep. It's Zoro, right? Rowan knows Zoro has a strong passion, desire, you know, to become the strongest swordsman in the world. That's very Scorpio. Like he was born November 11th. So this man, you know, he don't give a fuck. He'll fight, you know, till he dies, right? That's a Scorpio mentality. He is obsessed with that shit. Scorpio is also an obsessed sign. When they like something, they want something, they desire something, they become obsessed with it. You know, it's like a way of life to them. He lives by the sword, man. He fucking dies by the sword. That's Zoro, right? He did that shit on Thriller Bark. Like he had to. He didn't even throw his like dream aside. He even said like, you know, I'm worth what Luffy's worth. You know, take me because he like basically because like this is the thing, man. Scorpios are deep, all right. So like when they fuck with you, man, they fuck with you. Like they actually lock the fuck in with you if they actually do, and they do, man. They do, and that's what Zoro did, right? He was like, I'm the vice captain of the Strawhat Pirates, you know, and I'm trying to be the strongest swordsman in the world. That has to mean something, man. I'm not letting you take my captain, you know. So then he takes on all that pain. He dies, and then he comes back to life, you know. And this was in the SBS, man. Don't, you know, come at me. You know, that's what the SBS said, right? He couldn't find his way to the afterlife, so he came back to his body. You know, and I believe it, you know, because he was like, he lost a lot of blood. That man was like fucking like gone, but he was still there, right? You know, fixed water. That's, you know, fixed emotions. He's in. intent on becoming the strongest swordsman in the world, no matter what. He stood on that business against Kaido. He'll fight. Basically, he'll take on any challenge that gets in his fucking way, no matter what it is. And once he commits to something, he's there, right? So he's committed to the Strawhats too. So he's committed to being Luffy's, number one, right? And or like, right hand, right? And that's what he is. Now Luffy is a Taurus like me, born on Cinco de Mayo, right? May 5th, right? So once he sets his heart on something, he's gonna make that shit happen. It don't matter how long it takes. It's gonna happen, bitch. It might not happen tomorrow, but nigga, it's gonna fucking happen. And that's a Taurus mentality. Once they decide something, you ain't making a move. We ain't moving, nigga. Like, boy, girl, ladies, gentlemen, anybody who sees this video, we ain't fucking moving, all right? We ain't moving on our stance. It might take us this long or this long, but we'll get there. See, Luffy had to he had to stop in his journey, and he's sensible too. He didn't like it, and he did not like that, right? Because he lost his brother, he lost his crew, and all that shit. It went sideways on him. He was like, "What the fuck?" And all this shit happened to him, right? And he was like, "No, I still want to be king of the pirates, and I'm still gonna do that shit, right?" All that shit aside, it's gonna fucking happen, right? He locked in for 2 years. He didn't want to have to do that. Because guess what? There's other people going after the One Piece too. Blackbeard is now making moves to become a Yonko. He's a Yonko after 2 years. Luffy didn't care about that though. He didn't. Everybody has their own fucking path, and Luffy knows that. He's still positive that he's going to be the king of the pirates. He learns, he locks in, and he does that shit, right? He's basically sensible is what I'm trying to say. Luffy is a very sensible guy. So Luffy he eats a lot of food, right? But he eats a lot of food because he battles a lot and he fights a lot. And when you do shit like that, you need food to fuel your body. So I'm not saying he's not sensible. He's definitely a sensible young man. And that's why the crew still follows him. How is Luffy not sensible when, and that's a quality of Taurus too, by the way. So the Green Angel's sensible. Like me, I'm sensible. How is Luffy not sensible when he still has the loyalty of his fucking crew members? They see what he does and they know what he's about. Like when he says he's gonna do something, he's gonna do it, and he does it. It might not happen immediately, but it does. And then when they see that, they're like, well, damn, he's about what he means. So we're gonna follow him. Right? We'll make sure that he, accomplishes his goal of becoming king of the pirates. They have loyalty to him because he has loyalty to them as well. He's seen shit in them. He wanted to protect them. He wanted to, have them join his crew. He's seen value in their lives, right? Where other people may not have. He was like, well, I see value in you. You need to come with me. And he even told them later on, he was like, when they started, certain people, like Sanji, he's like, yo, I can't be king of the pirates without you. I need to fucking eat. I'll kill myself trying to cook food, but you know how to cook. Like, why the fuck are you trying to leave? And that is, all the Strawhats and their signs. I'll do this for other anime too. Don't worry, I got you. But be cool, calm the corner, and were you surprised about some of their Zodiac signs?